Hello, climbers. People often think of mental health struggles as a mountain you just climb once and get over. But the truth is, it's a mountain you carry with you. In this episode, we're stepping onto the trail of what I call starting the climb. For us, that meant ER visits, locked hospital doors, and paper scrubs that felt more like punishment than protection. For my mom, it meant the shock of realizing she couldn't keep her own child safe by herself and the fear of being more afraid to disappoint her than to die. This is where the climb really began. Welcome to Mom and Me Climbing Mountains Together, a podcast about showing up for each other in the messy middle of life. I'm Eleni, and alongside my mom, Ashley, we're sharing our story of navigating mental health, identity, family, and all the ups and downs that come with growing up and parenting at the same time.
We don't have all the answers. What we do have are honest conversations, sometimes heavy, sometimes hopeful, but always real. Our hope is that by climbing these mountains together out loud, you'll feel a little less alone in your own journey.
So, let's take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin.
We're at episode 2. I'm going to do my mom disclaimer again. For listeners, you might be new, you might be returning, but it's all the same. We're going to be talking about mental health topics here. The topic of suicide is going to be very heavy, especially in this episode. Just bear with us. Pause where you need to. If you can't listen to it right now, come back to us when you're ready. Could be in an hour, could be next week, could be next year. But there is a journey here with this podcast, so we hope that you are able to stay with us. So we're on our starting the climb portion of our podcast. And I know when we first started talking about creating this podcast and we wanted to do, the 10 different episodes, we broke out the sessions. We kind of named each one, which I know our listeners can go and see that, on when all the episodes are out, they'll be able to see each title and everything. And I think they'll get what we're going for.
Yeah.
But this one's starting to climb. I realized now that we didn't say in the actual recording of the first episode that it is base of the mountain. But the point of me bringing this up right now is we're going to be talking about some pretty heavy stuff from when you were in the ER for your first hospitalization for an attempt to unalive yourself. And I feel like the mountain itself is that your mental health struggles, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't think is quite fair to say mental health struggles are just a mountain, because that's just like it stops, right? And mental health, that's something that's always going to be with us, right? And I've said this before, it's mental health is just like physical health. You have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your mind. But for me, starting the climb is connected to the fact that you opened up to me and I released and submitted my almost parental control, if you will, to you in your climb to conquer some pretty heavy mental health stuff that you were going through at the time. And in the last podcast, we ended with the fact that you had gone to the ER. I brought you myself, and we were separated for multiple hours. And we finally had that moment where we reconnected, where I was able to go into the room where you were at, and I held your hand and we sat there together. So I feel like that is a very good starting the climb moment of like, hey, I think we both realize right now that there's some work that has to be done. We don't know what it is yet, but we know that we need to get we need to get out of this. And I, as a parent, had to figure out what to do to help you with that.
Yeah. Well, like I said before even starting this talk right now, it was a hard time. That first attempt experience, my mind blocked it out without my consent. So even with me trying to talk about it right now, I can only remember snippets because my mind is protecting me from myself and trying to filter out the things that hurts it. I don't remember exactly a lot of how things went for how I was feeling per se. I felt numb the entire time. Like I said, it was a dystopian dream.
Well, and I think you and I also, even just before recording this, right, we still remembered how things happened differently, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to talk through this. Listeners, again, if this ends up being too much for you, if you need some sort of assistance right away, text or call 988. I know wherever you live there's going to be some sort of potential local health mental crisis unit you can tap into by reaching out to 988. They have connections all over the country. So please, if you are triggered by this moment, just either text or call 988 or go out and get some coffee, get yourself out of the house and go be around others. Don't be by yourself in this moment. Just know there are others out there who are dealing with things as well, but just take care of yourself. So we're going to get into it. So you were in the ER room, and after, like I discussed last time, waiting however many hours, finally having a conversation with a caseworker, I went in there and held your hand and completely just was waiting to hear what happened next. The doctors came in, and of course, this is pieces and fragments, right? So we're going to help each other fill in this story. But I remember the doctor coming in and reviewing the labs and reviewing the blood tests and everything that they had done. They found opiates in your system, which ended up being Advil or baby aspirin, something like that we had in the medicine cabinet, which I did not have locked, but it was like a closing lock that like your younger brother and sister at the time could not get into that cupboard. But you were older, right? You were an 8th grader. You could twist the thing that was higher up and get into that. I also found out that there was potentially alcohol involved. And I was I'm like, okay, I know I got my cute little bar shelf, but I am racking my brain trying to figure out what in the hell were they saying. You had just been in school all day, and then you went to therapy, and then we were straight here. What in the world are they talking about? Well, that kind of stuff can stay in your system for 24 hours.
Yeah, I took the pills the night before. Previous to the night before that, it was earlier that same week, and I don't know if I've told you this or not before, actually, but I took about 8 ibuprofen just to see what it would be like. And I went to school like that. I just spent the whole day like that. And I think I openly told my counselor, and she was telling me like, "Oh, Eleni, that's not very good for you. I hope you know that." It's like, I know. Why do you think I did it? I obviously didn't tell her that. at the time. But once I found out that it didn't really do a whole lot, in my mind, it was like, okay, I need something stronger to help me. And so, leading to the night before going to the ER, I went to our medicine cabinet and I didn't even look at the bottles. I grabbed a couple, dumped quite a few in my hand from each one, and just tipped my head back. I hope this doesn't give any ideas to anybody. Please don't do this at all. Don't follow what I'm doing in my attempt process. It is not good for you or for anyone else. Even though I physically couldn't feel anything, there was definitely something going on. The next morning, I kept thinking like, okay, these are my final days. I want to experience what I can before I go. And so that's what comes into the substance part. I wanted to try some alcohol. So I took a shot of vodka and it was gross. I immediately put it away and walked away. I didn't drink like a whole bottle or mixture. It was gross. And I realized that I wish I never did it. So then, like I said, I just walked away. And then I went to school, hinting to the rest of the day. So, yeah, I don't exactly remember what the doctor was talking about, but I remember just sitting there, just being like, yeah, I know. And you're repeating every single thing back to my mom, and I don't want her to know about every single thing. And yet I know that it's legally impossible for them to not tell her. But what if she gets mad at me? What if I get in trouble for doing all these things? I don't want her to know. And so, yeah, those were the things in my head. I don't want her to be mad at me. I don't want to get in trouble. What are the consequences of her and my dad finding out that I did this?
You know what's scarier as your parent?
Me not being alive.
You
dying.
being more afraid of me giving you consequence than you actually committing suicide and dying and not being here anymore.
Yeah.
And that was what went through my head when I started hearing all this stuff. And I was in pure shock. I was effing pissed.
I know.
I was
I could
so
tell.
mad. But it wasn't just mad at you. I was mad at myself. I was mad at partially at you because the night before you were nannying your younger brother and sister so Dad and I could go to some board meetings. And I put trust in you to take care of them. Had you messed up and like we didn't really have like heavy medications or anything, but
No.
had you really could have done something and really could have made a choice to where would have come home to see you dead, or your brother and sister could have gotten out of bed to go to the bathroom and found you dead. So I was angry. I was shocked. But more importantly, I was devastated that you were in that much pain. Physical, mental, whatever it was, that you even had to go down that rabbit hole at all. And again, right, there's I brought this up in the last episode, but there is an independent experience for children who start puberty. Their bodies are literally changing to become more independent to lead them into adulthood, right? We place age restrictions on things like alcohol and voting rights and when you're a legal adult and blah, blah, blah. But when you start puberty, your body physically is changing, mentally changing to become more independent, to become more self-sufficient, right? There's all of these things happening. And I'm over here like, is she just being like an a-hole teenager? Is she just being a jerk? Like, what is happening? And I realized I cannot make sure that you are safe by myself anymore. I did not trust that. I did not trust my ability to ask you how your day was and to decipher from a 1 to 20 word answer exactly everything that happened. There's no possible way for me to know how everything went for you and how you're feeling inside. You go to school all day long. You're absolutely exhausted from learning. Your brain is fried from all the new material. You're physically exhausted. You probably didn't get to drink a lot of water, right? You're dealing with drama from other people. You're dealing with drama from teachers and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You're around other people during the day and you're also an athlete. So it's like, we got to hurry up and get to the next thing. You've got to figure out food. You've got to figure out changing. You got to figure out your equipment. You got to figure out when we need to leave so we can, boom, 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 boom. Get to the next thing. And my whole world opened up in that moment because I realized I have to rely on teachers to be able to help me clue you into how you're going. Friends aren't going to tell me, Jack. I have to rely on coaches to develop you as a whole person, not just as a trophy-winning athlete, to find value beyond that one specific sport. All of these feelings and the thought processes, everything, hitting the mic here, everything is going through my head, swirling around as the listeners are hearing me right now. I'm literally moving my hands in a circle. Everything's swirling in my head in this moment. I'm like, I cannot keep my child safe by myself. I can't. She didn't tell me any of this. I just heard from a therapist saying she has a plan right now to unalive herself, but hasn't carried out the plan because of her younger brother and sister, which there's a 9+ year age gap between you and, the next sibling. And yet I find out that you did try and do something with them around. What am I supposed to do in that moment? Am I going to yell at you and scold you?
I don't know.
Right? I didn't know either. I kind of assessed, though, that it wasn't really the time and place to just start yelling. Right?
Yeah, I'd rather not have that happen while I'm sitting in a hospital bed in the ER watching a bunch of other people go around outside of the room.
And I realized I'm obviously not a doctor or a therapist or anything like that. So I unfortunately just have to see what these people say. And because of what was in your system, they had to hold you. I couldn't take you home that day. And that's when you have been in an ER before, but you learned about an extra unit, the mental health unit that they have in hospitals.
Yeah.
You had to go stay in the lockdown area and have your own room with not a very comfortable place to sleep.
No, I was basically quarantined there. I felt like, I mean, I've literally referenced this, but I thought that I was in a mental asylum. Like, I was put in paper scrubs. I was put into a room with a plastic bed and plastic pillow. The controls to the AC, or I don't know, whatever controls that they had, that was locked behind a plastic case, and the TV was in a plastic case itself. There was literally nothing for me to do unless they brought it in. And they even had to ask me if I was safe with paper, too.
Did you? I don't even remember you having a blanket. Did they give you a blanket?
No. And when they did give me a blanket, once they realized that I was, quote, one of the calmer ones, unquote, like, the blanket is pretty thin. It's made so that you can't suffocate underneath it.
So I want to take this opportunity really quick because we didn't really introduce too much about ourselves, right? In the beginning.
We're just mystery.
You, at the time, still are. You were almost a straight A student. You were B's and A's. It was obvious when you'd get frustrated with the class because you'd grade would lower to a C, and then we'd go have a conversation with the teacher. You'd get some extra tutoring help. You would understand the material. Boom, done. You're back up to B or A, right? Multi-sport athlete. You played the viola since you were in played music since you're in the 4th grade. You played viola at a very high level. You were in honors classes.
Very social. I was very outgoing with people.
You helped with learn to skate. You helped the little kids learn how to skate and learn how to play hockey. You volunteer in your community. So for whatever stigmas are out there about mental health, this is not the kid. This is not the 8th grader that you would think would be in one of these areas or situations. I mean, the people next to her, they're wailing and moaning. There were very severe cognitive disabilities, very severe mental health issues, very apparent by the other patients who were in there. You did not fit that stigma of needing or deserving to be there, right? That wasn't you at the time. So not only was it shocking to hear from the therapist, to hear from you, to hear from the doctors about your blood test results, and to actually see and walk with you physically into this unit, ultimately at the end of that day, it was 8 p.m. and I was told it was time for me to go home. I had to leave you. And this is a lot about me right now. I know listeners are probably hearing that language, but I want the parent side to be heard because obviously, Elaine, you're struggling with remembering a lot of these things, but I had some very key moments this whole entire day that rocked my entire existence.
Well, yeah, that's also just as important as, I don't want to say the victim, but the person who experienced it.
The crisis.
Yeah, the crisis. Whatever you are, both sides are just as important because I'm just now hearing your full story. And that has a lot of impact on me too. And it does help give some insight because a lot of people just don't understand it. And they disregard that side of the story so much when it really shouldn't be. It should definitely be taken account for because I never really thought about the parental side of it. I just thought that I was being left alone. I didn't think that it was necessarily like mandatory, because I know that in hospitalization, not hospitalization, but like in hospitals, you can stay with the patient if you're a family member, but this wasn't the area of the hospital where you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm thinking about patient visiting hours, I'm thinking about like a pregnancy. That's
Mm-hmm.
definitely not
No,
the same
not even
thing.
close. No. And I do think while the person going through the crisis, the person with the severe mental health struggles, the person asking for help, obviously it's life or death with them, right? So it is more important than how I'm feeling as a parent.
Yeah.
But the intent of this podcast is for both sides to be able to hear and understand, because you still had a plan to unalive yourself because of all the pain, which included failing me, right? You loved me so much, and whether there were days we got along or not or whatever, you were still more afraid of disappointing me than you were of actually dying and not living anymore, right? So we have a very different relationship than a lot of people in the world. There are a lot of families who don't know how to talk to each other. I have a relationship like that with my parents. The relationship doesn't exist. My in-laws, we don't have a relationship with them because of things that have happened, which might be more reason why I put so much into being humble and just trying to listen and learn through your journey. Because at the end of the day, I want to be your parent for the rest of your life. I want to be there through all of your ups and all of your downs. And I've never done that before. So I need to learn how to do that, right? So if you're listening out there, if you're the person going through a crisis and you do not have family that is like this, I apologize on their behalf for you. Whether or not you need to hear that, yes, they are people who should be there alongside you. However, I have learned from personal experience, just because someone has a certain role in life, it doesn't mean they're going to fulfill it up to your expectations. There are people out there like Eleni, like myself, who do care enough, who do want to be a part of your life, who do want you here, who can offer you the help and support that you need. Kind of going back a little bit, because I'm going on a little bit of a tangent. Mainly, the first line of support are people like these doctors and therapists who can help you assess your thoughts and your feelings, and at what point in time you've crossed a boundary that needs an additional level of care. I did not know until the blood work was done, until spending an entire day at the ER waiting to figure out what's going on with Eleni, that she had done these things. As far as I knew from the therapist, nothing had happened yet. That was a lot.
Yeah.
So the next step that happened is for that unit to put a referral into an inpatient stay program, which, if anyone is already kind of in the mental health world, I'll say It's not always easy to get access to a resource like that.
We're very fortunate for one to be this close, because I've met people who have gone distances over an hour just for facilities like this, even moved states. So we're very fortunate for this too.
And we are unfortunately fortunate enough that it's confusing, but you did have things show up in your blood work that escalated your referral to the program. Your age one as a minor, what you said to the therapist, and the blood work put you at a higher spot in the wait list. So that's why I said we were unfortunately fortunate, or fortunately unfortunate, that all of these chess pieces were in the right space to get her at the top of the line for a referral. And it ended up being, I believe, at like 1 a.m. that same night where you were transferred to the unit, which is kind of it was like attached to the same hospital, but it was kind of like
different wing.
Yeah, a different wing. So we were very, very fortunate for that. But again, I went home without you.
Yeah. I didn't know what to do, because as far as I knew, I was being carted away to wherever I was going. And they weren't really talking to me. They weren't really filling me in on the details, because I don't know. But I wasn't really being instructed through the process until I was actually there.
You're in paper scrubs. You're in those non-slip hospital socks that everybody loves to hate. You were, were you even wearing a bra? Did you have your underwear on or anything like that?
They gave every piece of clothing. They didn't have a bra. The only undergarments they gave were thin underwear.
And I think we all know it's because those could be used for self-harm.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you could have stuff in the clothing that's hidden that could maybe put staff in danger as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's very serious, it's very scary, it's very serious, but you making that transition into that inpatient program probably was the best thing that could have happened in that moment for us.
Yeah. That's when light bulbs started going off in my head. When realization finally set, like, this is actually real. This is an actual thing that is happening in my life right now that I have to address, or else I will never get out of it. And I kind of gave in to the experience, but I was still very guarded, because I'm bunking with a stranger out of however number of people, and I'm going to be stuck here until they deem me as safe. So I figured I'm going to finally take time to myself, not worrying about the extracurriculars, grades, family, friends, drama. This is my time. And I don't want to say you can forget about everything even without being an inpatient, but you can find times in your day that are only for you.
A lot of thinking.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
I think what we'll do is wait for the next episode. We'll talk a little bit more. I think a lot of growth happened for you, and a lot of growth happened for Dad and me. while you were there. And I think that we owe it to ourselves to really, really go through all that and talk about those things. So
Yeah, for sure.
Again, listeners, if you're still with us, we're glad you're here. If you, again, are in a place where you think you need support, if you know of a local support system, local resources you can tap into, do that. Again, there's 988 available.
Even if you have even if you're not comfortable with reaching out to actual organizations, even if there's just one safe person in your life, it doesn't have to be your parents. It can be a friend, a teacher, a counselor, anyone that you feel safe to talk to and are comfortable to talk to about things like this that you are experiencing. That one person can definitely make just as much of a difference.
But I'll challenge that as well. Even if you are not comfortable talking to someone and you know that that's what they do, that level of discomfort with asking them if they can have a conversation is far easier than the discomfort and shock and trauma of being taken to the ER, right? Because you've attempted to unalive yourself. So don't let things get to that point. At any point that you're feeling down, find any outlet to talk to someone about your feelings. Keep yourself safe, please, because you're loved.
Thanks for climbing this part of the mountain with us. These conversations aren't easy, but they matter. And we're grateful you're here, listening and walking alongside us.
If today's episode stirred something in you, take a moment to sit with it. Journal about it, share it with someone you trust. And if you're struggling, please remember you don't have to carry it alone. In the US, you can dial or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline anytime you need.
Thank you to the Anne Bancroft Foundation for fulfilling dreams with their grants to girls like me, to my incredible mentor, Jeba Edmonds, for the never-ending encouragement and kindness along the way, and to Asher Carlson, owner of the Duluth Creative Co., who helped bring our vision to life. You never know who you'll meet along the way. We'll meet you here again soon with more stories that remind us none of us climb alone. Until then, hold on to hope, take the next step, and keep climbing.